So as of lately, this topic of leadership has been on my mind. And having worked in multiple professions from when I was 15 to now that I'm almost 26 this February, being both a leader and being submitted under leadership, I've come to learn that leadership is not a task to take lightly. Leadership is not a role that you just fall into and think that you're gonna excel in. And by saying that, I'm saying that not everyone is capable of being a leader right away, but leadership requires a specific type of skill. And what I mean by that is just because you are excelling and knowledgeable and killing your profession, you're killing it in your profession, it does not qualify you to be a leader. To be a leader, essentially, you need to be able to manage people. Yes, your skill set is going to be valuable to whatever thing you are leading. But to be a leader, like I said, you need to be able to understand how to manage a team, understand how to not just manage people's skill sets, but to manage people's personalities, to manage people's ups and downs. As someone who has worked in leadership positions, yes, we're focused on the role, but people are human. People have lives, people have responsibilities, people have circumstantial things that come up that you can't just take out of the picture and separate them from their job. One thing I always hate is that people run people to the ground like they're robots, but they have family issues, they have marital issues, they have financial issues, they have emotional circumstances that proper leaders and effective leaders will be able to consider those things in spite of their responsibilities to those roles. So one thing that I've really focused on lately is that you should not try to fabricate a calling. You should not try to just jump into leadership because you need to know what you're getting into. I've been in positions of leadership where I wanted to do them more so for the prestige, for the recognition, for what other people would think of me. And sometimes it was my arrogance because I thought that people were incapable, so I needed to take over. It's like when you're a kid and you're in that group project and you realize that no one's really doing the work, so you have to step up and take the lead. And all throughout my younger years, that kind of carried into, going into my jobs. And I thought that everything, whether it was major or minor, I had to take leadership on. And there's another issue. So it's not just about recognizing people's personal lives and their personalities and understanding what goes on, outside of their 9 to 5. But I heard this quote, I believe it's from Steve Jobs, and he says that we don't hire people to tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do. And it was something that my boy Bilal Dawson said on the episode. He says when he's starting his business, he's not trying to hire people that he could be superior over. He's trying to hire people that have better skill sets than him that can add value to his company. So I think people have this superiority complex where they think that leadership is about being the most highly skilled person with the most qualifications and delegating and telling people what to do. But most successful leaders that I've seen look for people that are skilled beyond their skill set. Because what's the point of having people that all have the same type of skill set, or someone who has higher and everyone else is lower? That's just like an assembly line, and that's like robotic. But if you have people who have skill sets better than you, they're adding value and they're bettering whatever project you're doing. So think about the fact that most people are incentive driven. We're incentive based humans, and we will do things based on a reward. How are you supposed to motivate people if you aren't valuing their skill set and listening to them, and you don't take into account what's going on in their personal life? So knowing those two things now, if you are to achieve results, if you are to motivate people to work, you have to consider more than just the goal of finishing the work. You need to consider that individual as a human. And the most successful businesses have been able to inspire and motivate people. So think about it. Sustained growth, the longevity of whatever you're trying to lead, or company or business or volunteer team, for that thing to grow, you need to be able to show people that you care about them beyond just achieving results, that you care about their life beyond just having accolades and metrics and measures at the end of the year. If you invest into people, they are going to invest their time, their effort, and they will be motivated to achieve those results for you. So if you are a leader, don't just focus on deliverables, focus on that individual and pour into their life so that they will be able to deliver those results for you. The thing about some leaders is they always try to take control and try to manage people's abilities, as opposed to caring about that person, spending a little bit more time with that person, showing them how to do it, maybe showing them you care, and actually getting those results because that person is committed to you as a leader. So I have to ask you, do you want to be a leader, or do you want the recognition that comes with being a leader? Do you want to be a leader, or do you want the perks that comes with the title of a leader? And that's important, because a title, a salary, an Instagram bio, whatever you say about yourself doesn't necessarily equal you being a leader. A name card or a name badge with a company logo doesn't make you a leader. It's what you do and the choices that you make and how you treat people that makes you a leader. So don't just rush into a leadership opportunity because you're looking for superficial gain. If you are going to be a leader, there is a level of responsibility that is attached to being a leader. It's not just even just managing people. It's not just being able to be adaptive to circumstances. You have a responsibility as a leader to take the onus of the good and the bad that happens with your team, with your company, with where you're going forward with your vision. So the thing about being a leader is, just because you might have incompetent people, it doesn't mean that those people are always going to take the fall for it. As a leader, you have a responsibility to own what happens within your team, what happens within your company, what happens within your organization. So think about it. If you want to rush into being a leader, you have to be ready to take the fall for when your team doesn't perform. You have to be able to maybe sometimes legally take on the responsibility when things aren't paid or when there's issues with your company. And now I'm learning, as someone who's both led and has both followed a leader, I'm not quick to jump into the next leadership opportunity. One of my mentors says that because he is the leader of that organization, if one of the staff make a mistake and he's making an announcement and he sees something that's an error, he doesn't acknowledge that that person made an error in front of the people who are sitting in front of him. He stands there as an effective leader and says, this is my responsibility, this is my bad, I made this mistake, I apologize it, and he owns it. So before you want to go run off and be a leader, think about the protection and the covering that comes with being under leadership, being submitted under leadership. Because as an individual who is skilled and has suggestions, if you bring your suggestions to that leader, if you go and give your ideas, as long as you've done your due diligence in your part, it's on the leader now. It's that leader's responsibility. So think about it. Sometimes we want to go for the leadership role, but maybe there's a purpose in being submitted into leadership. Maybe there's a purpose being a follower. And maybe you could be more effective being a follower sometimes than being a leader. Everyone has a role. It doesn't mean that it's all on the leader, and it doesn't mean that it's all on the follower. But together, if they know their role and they work in unison, change can happen. So knowing that, don't just run into a leadership opportunity. Think of the weight of the calling that you have to take on. Think of the responsibility and the skill sets that you need to manage people in that role as a leader. Because what needs to get done and the people who need to be helped and the impact that you can have all rests on your ability to choose whether you are going to be that type of leader that organization or those people need. Peace.